Chapter 1 The Favorite Son. I'm in prison for killing a dead man. That dead man was my brother Alex. He was born 6 years after me, and a part of me hated him from the very beginning, even when he was just a baby. Before Alex, I was the center of my parents' world. My father would carry me on his shoulders and teach me to swim. My mother bought me an army of dolls and we'd spend hours playing together. I've seen the photographs, albums filled with pictures of me during my first 6 years. I still have those photos in a book. But then Alex was born. I have a photo of him, too, a newborn in a Los Angeles hospital. My mother is holding him, her face beaming with a smile I hadn't seen directed at me in a long time. My father's arm is wrapped around her, and he's smiling down at baby Alex. In the photo, Alex is clutching our father's finger, and I'm there, standing alone by the bed, just watching them. There's a strange, forced smile on my face. I think I was trying to be happy, but I wasn't sure. No one was looking at me. It was always like that after Alex arrived. He was the son, the boy, and that was what mattered most to my parents, especially to my dad. The photo albums started to change. Most of the pictures were of Alex. Alex eating his first solid food, Alex taking his first steps, Alex on our dad's shoulders, Alex playing football, Alex swimming, Alex running, Alex at a huge birthday party surrounded by friends. 100 photos of Alex for every 5 or 10 of me. Of course, my parents still played with me sometimes, took me swimming, bought me clothes, but they were no longer truly interested in me. Before Alex, they spent all their time with me. After he was born, they rarely did. I started playing hospital with my dolls. I pretended the dolls were sick and I was their nurse. When the dolls had stomach aches, I'd give them medicine. Sometimes, I'd perform surgeries, pulling off their plastic limbs and smearing them with crushed tomatoes, a gruesome stand-in for blood. And sometimes, I'd give them injections. That was the best part. My mother gave me an old syringe, and I'd fill it with water and push it into the dolls. Soon, they were riddled with holes. My mother thought it was a good game for a little girl, but she didn't understand. In my game, all the dolls were boys, just like Alex, and they never got better. They were sick for a very long time, and then they died. I buried them in little holes I dug in the garden. When I was 10, my mother died. My father was devastated and started drinking heavily. Sometimes he'd bring strange women home, but he never remarried. I think the women didn't like him because of the alcohol. When he wasn't drunk, he played with Alex, which left me with even more time alone. I was a good student and I was beautiful, so I had plenty of boyfriends. My father despised them. "You stay away from those boys, Ellen," he'd shout. "It's not right. I don't want them in my house." "Why not, Dad?" I'd ask. "You bring your women here, don't you? Why can't I have my boyfriends over?" "Shut up, girl," he'd roar, his face red with anger. Sometimes he hit me. Once, I had to go to the hospital. And what did Alex do? He did nothing. He just watched. Sometimes he'd laugh, and then he'd go outside to play football with Dad. Then I met Jax. He was 22, big and strong like a movie star. All the girls thought he was incredible. One day, he asked me to a party. I was ecstatic. I went home, put on my best clothes and my shortest skirt to impress him. When I heard Jax's motorbike pull up, I went downstairs. Dad was standing at the door. "Where do you think you're going?" he demanded. "Out," I smiled, "with my new boyfriend." "Oh no, you're not," he said, his eyes fixed on my skirt. "Not dressed like that. You're only 18, Ellen. I know what boys want." "I don't care," I said, trying to push past him. He grabbed my arm hard. I screamed, and he slapped my face. Then Jax came to the door. He was magnificent. He took Dad's arms, pinned them to his sides, and slowly pushed him back into the house. Dad was powerless. Jax sat him down in a chair, then walked back outside and wrapped his arms around me, right there in front of the house. Then we rode away on his motorbike. Chapter 2 Wild boys. I never went home again. I stayed at Jax's apartment that night. 3 months later, I found out I was pregnant. I lost the baby at 5 months, and soon after, I went back to finish my training to become a nurse. A few years later, I had another baby, and this one was born healthy. Now I'm 29, and I have 3 small children. But happiness is a fleeting concept. Jax is a handsome man, a passionate lover, but I am not his only woman. I know he has at least 2 other girlfriends, and both of them have children with him. Maybe there are more. Sometimes weeks go by without seeing him. Then he'll show up, all smiles, trying to be nice, but I still get angry. He doesn't have a real job, and we live on very little money. I work as a nurse at the hospital, but my pay isn't much, and half of it goes to a babysitter while I'm at work. Dad died 4 years ago. Alex told me about it. Dad had a heart attack, he said. He was so angry about you and Jax that he started running to get stronger. But he never stopped drinking. One day, he drank half a bottle of whiskey, went for a run, came home, and collapsed dead on the floor. Alex laughed when he told me. How strange, I thought. I didn't love my father, but when Alex told me he died, Alex laughed. Maybe men are just animals, not people like us women. After Dad died, I saw Alex more often. I didn't particularly like him, but he was my only family. We'd go swimming with the kids or get a pizza. Jax didn't like me talking to other men, but he was okay with it because Alex was my brother. When Alex was 18, he started a rock band called Wild Boys. He sang and played guitar. At first, they played in small clubs, but then they made a record and a lot of people bought it. The band started playing in front of thousands of people. They made 3 more records and toured all over the world. It was unbelievable. By the time he was 20, my little brother Alex was famous and rich. Very, very rich. He bought a yellow Rolls-Royce, a Jaguar, a Porsche, and a mansion in the best part of Los Angeles with 15 bedrooms, a tennis court, a swimming pool, and an ocean view. And he gave me our parents' house. It was a nice gesture, but it wasn't that nice. I mean, our parents' house was old, with 3 small bedrooms and a tiny garden on a noisy, dirty street. It was better than my old apartment, but still. I started visiting Alex often. He gave me a key to his mansion, and I would cook for him, especially when he threw big parties. I enjoyed the parties. Jax came too. There were famous people, amazing food and music, and plenty of drinks and drugs. Yes, drugs. That was the bad part. Alex got way too interested in drugs. Many of his friends used them, and so did Jax. When they were high, they often didn't know what day it was. They did crazy things. I remember one party where they all went for a midnight swim at the beach. While one of the guys was in the ocean, the others stole his clothes and drove off, leaving him to walk back through the streets in the middle of the night, soaking wet. We all laughed at him from the car. He was so angry. I thought it was hilarious, but that friend didn't speak to me for a week. But Alex and his friends started using more and more drugs, and his music began to suffer. Sometimes he would stay in bed until 4 in the afternoon, and when he finally got up, he looked terribly sick. He was thin, his face was pale, and he had no appetite. He asked me for help. "You're a nurse, Ellen," he said. "I feel sick. Give me some medicine or something. Help me." "You don't need medicine," I told him. "You need good food, exercise, and no more drugs." "Who do you think you are, Ellen?" he snapped. "My mother?" "No, but I'm your sister, and I'm a nurse," I insisted. "Listen to me. I'm going to get you some medicine to help you stop the drugs, and I'm going to cook you a good meal every day. But you have to quit. Try it, Alex. It works, I know it does." He did try it, and it helped. After 2 or 3 months, Alex was stronger and happier, and he started writing good music again. He was pleased. He trusted me. Sometimes in the evenings he would take me and my kids to the beach. We'd have dinner, go for a swim, and just have a good time together. Those few months with my brother were a genuinely good time in my life. For a moment, I thought, maybe my brother finally likes me. He's happy and healthy because of me. Maybe he can help me now. Give me money, buy me a new car and a nice house, take me to Europe with him. But of course, I was wrong. No one ever gives me anything. Chapter 3. The tour. I'm going on tour, Alex announced one day. All around the USA and Europe. 4 months. I looked at him and thought, he's going to ask me to come with him. I can see the world, bring my kids. It will be wonderful. When I'm away, Alex continued, I want you to clean the house for me. Of course, you can't live here, but I want you to come every day to clean. And there's another thing, Ellen. Yes, what is it? So, I'm not going on tour. I'm just his cleaner. I truly hated him in that moment. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I said nothing. You know I get really tired on these tours, he said. And I need drugs to help me play good music. I don't want to take dangerous street drugs, Ellen. I need clean, safe drugs. I want you to get some drugs from the hospital for me. You're a nurse. It's easy for you. Just take them secretly. No one will know. That's a crime, Alex, I said, my voice shaking. People go to prison for that. Is that what you want? For me to steal drugs for you and go to prison? Maybe. Why not? He laughed. You're my sister, Ellen. And don't forget, I gave you my parents' house, didn't I? That's what he said. My parents' house, not our parents' house. Legally, half of it should have been mine, but Dad gave it all to Alex because he was so angry about me and Jax. Alex didn't think of that. He thought everything belonged to him, just like when we were kids, when he played football with Dad and I played with my dolls. I remembered my dolls then, and the syringe filled with water, and I smiled. All right, Alex, I'll get you something. You're right, you are my brother. I looked around at the beautiful house, the swimming pool, the view of the ocean, and I thought, you're not married, Alex. And there's only you and me in our family. So when you die, all of this is going to be mine. Alex was right. It was easy to steal drugs from the hospital. No one noticed. I also stole clean, new syringes. Alex was very pleased. Thanks, Ellen, he said. Now I'm going to play lots of good music. I'll be okay now. Chapter 4. The futures. He was gone for 4 months, and I cleaned his beautiful, big house every single day. He didn't call me once. When he came back, he was not okay. He looked thin, pale, and sick. I tried to talk to him, but he wouldn't listen. I was just the cook and the cleaning woman. He had a lot of new friends now, and some of them were very strange. I first met the futures one night in November. There was a party at Alex's house, and when I arrived after work, I saw a large black car parked outside. It looked like a boring, corporate car, and when I went inside, I thought the people looked boring too. But that was just on the outside. Inside, they were as dangerous as wild animals. A businessman in a dark suit sat across from Alex, with a young woman perched on the arm of his chair. The man was about 40, with graying hair. The woman was much younger, maybe 24, with long black hair and wearing a blue dress. At first, I thought she was his daughter. Hi, Ellen, Alex said. Meet my new friends, Dan Future and his wife, Linda. We met in New Mexico. There were about 10 other people there, talking and listening to music. We had a couple of drinks and then Alex and Linda went for a swim in the pool. I sat and watched the beautiful evening sunset over the ocean. Dan Future came and sat beside me. We watched Alex's thin body as he slowly climbed out of the pool. Life's so very short, don't you think? Dan said. What do you mean? I asked. He had perfectly white teeth. My father died last year. He was 65. That's not much, is it? 65 years of life. Well, maybe not, I said. But think how many times the sun has set in the evenings. 10 billion times, maybe 100 billion. 100 billion evenings as beautiful as this one. But my father only got to sit and watch maybe the few hundred of them. We only live a short time, like birds, you know. Yes, I see, I said, surprised. Businessmen didn't usually talk like that. and they certainly didn't usually come to Alex's parties. Dan Future's hair was perfectly cut. He wore an expensive watch and nice clothes. He looked strong and healthy. Why did he want to talk about death? The only sick person here was Alex. Did Dan Future know about that? He smiled again. We don't have to die, you know. Soon, people are going to live for 150 years, maybe more. You just need to have money, that's all. I told your brother about it in New Mexico, and he was very interested. You are too, aren't you? Oh no, I thought. The man's crazy. Are you part of one of those new churches? I asked. No, no, I'm a scientist. I can tell you all about it if you like. But he didn't, because just then, Alex came up to me and said, we need more drinks and food. How about some food, Ellen? There are some hamburgers in the freezer. So I went to get them. Alex had the money, and I didn't. And I was the woman. So I got the drinks and cooked the food. Around 10 o'clock, I went home, and I didn't learn any more about Dan Future and his crazy ideas. Not then. But I learned a lot more about them 2 weeks later. Chapter 5. The freezer. It was the night of Alex's birthday. I got home from work around 7, put the kids to bed, and made supper for Jax. He didn't speak to me, just sat in front of the TV with his food and his bottle of whiskey. So I thought, I'm going out. I'll go say happy birthday to Alex. Even Alex can't be as bad as this, and he is my brother. I had some more drugs and syringes for him from the hospital, so I wrapped them in nice paper, like presents. Like candy for a baby, I thought. Alex is just a big baby, really, with his music and expensive cars to play with. Or a doll, and I'm his nurse. When I got to his house, it was eerily quiet. There were only 1 or 2 lights on downstairs, and the big black car was parked outside. That's strange, I thought. It's Alex's birthday. Why isn't there a party? I got out of my car and walked to the door. It was unlocked. Soft music was playing in the large living room, but no lights were on. Moonlight streamed in through the windows, and I could see the moon reflected in the swimming pool outside. Alex, I called. Alex, where are you? No answer, just the quiet, beautiful music. I went to Alex's room, but his bed was empty. All the rooms were empty. I came back to the living room, opened the door to the moonlit garden, and there I gasped and nearly fell. Then I stood still and laughed nervously, but nothing happened. I stopped laughing, and it was silent again. 2 people were sitting on the ground. They sat perfectly still, their hands and faces lifted up to the moon. They didn't move or look at me. Alex, I said. Alex, what are you doing? But it wasn't Alex. It was a man and a woman. The man's hair was silver in the moonlight, and the woman's hair was long and dark. Dan and Linda Future. They began to sing a strange, wordless song. They sang for nearly 10 minutes. When they finished, I said in a loud voice, "Where is Alex?" They looked at me then and stood up. Both of them came towards me and took my hands. "He's asleep," Dan said. "We have saved him." I pulled my hands away, suddenly afraid. "What do you mean? What are you talking about?" "He was very sick," Dan said. "He had AIDS. You knew that, didn't you?" For a moment, I couldn't speak. I was terrified. "No," I stammered. "Of course I didn't. Who knows how he got it?" Dan continued. "On tour, I think. He used drugs, didn't he? No one can cure AIDS. Not yet. But one day, someone will find a cure. So we helped him. He is safe now for hundreds of years. Isn't that wonderful?" Linda took my hand again. "Come with me," she said. "Let's go and look." "Look at what? Where is he?" "Don't be afraid. It's all right." She smiled, and I saw her perfect white teeth in the moonlight. She led me like a child into the house, through the living room, and down into the music room. The music room was in the basement, under the house. Alex liked to play his music very loud all night, so he had built the room down there to be soundproof. It was a large room with one small, high window. It was never hot in the summer or cold in the winter. But now, it was different. In the middle of the room stood a large glass case. A cold, blue light emanated from inside it. There was a low hum, the sound of something large and quiet, like a massive freezer. And inside the glass case, there was a body. Alex's body. My brother. The body was lying on a bed of ice, its head slightly elevated. It was dressed in silver clothes and its face was blue. "Oh no, what happened?" I cried. "It's all right, Ellen," Dan Future said from behind me. "He isn't dead." "Not dead?" I said. "But he's frozen. He took a sleeping drug and then we froze him. It is very, very cold in there, -196 degrees Celsius. Nothing happens to bodies at that temperature. Nothing changes for hundreds of years, thousands of years, maybe. That's what's going to happen to Alex. He's going to stay there for 100 years, 200 years, maybe. Then, one day, a doctor can wake him up and cure him. That's what our company does." "Your company?" I said. "What do you mean?" "I'm sorry. Didn't Alex tell you?" Dan Future was in the room now too, his hand on my back. He handed me a business card. It read, "Escape from Death, the Cryonics Company, Dan and Linda Future." "I don't understand," I said. "What's cryonics?" "It's the science of freezing people," he explained. "That's what we do. We help people like your brother stay alive for hundreds of years. Then, when doctors can cure them, they wake up. We also look after their money and houses." "You do what?" I said, suddenly furious. "You look after their money and houses?" "Yes," he smiled, and his beautiful teeth looked blue in the strange light from the freezer. He took a piece of paper from his pocket. "It's all here, Ellen. Your brother signed this paper. It says that we must keep him here, frozen in this room, for 200 years. By then, there will be a cure for AIDS. For now, we will look after his money and his house. And when we are dead, our company will continue to look after them. Then they will be ready for him when he comes back to life." "But you killed him," I screamed, my anger boiling over. "And now you're stealing his money and his house. It belongs to me, not you." Dan Future laughed. "No, no, my dear, you don't understand. The money and the house don't belong to us or to you. They belong to your brother Alex. He isn't dead. He's just frozen, and he's going to stay frozen for 200 years. He laughed again, and his young wife began to laugh too. I turned and ran out of the house. Chapter 6. The Key. The next day, the Futures sent me all the papers with Alex's signature on them. I showed them to Jax. "You need a lawyer," he said. "These people are criminals." So I got a lawyer, but it didn't help. I needed money for a good lawyer, and I had nothing. I went to the nearest lawyer's office. The lawyer was unfriendly and unhelpful. "It costs $100 for half an hour, and you pay before we talk," he told me. When I gave him the money, he took off his watch and placed it on the table in front of him. He was a small man with thinning hair and a tired, pale face. His eyes were cold and gray, like stones. When I told him my story, he said, "That's not possible." "But it's true. Read this." He read the paper slowly, then smiled and glanced at his watch. "Well, this is very interesting," he said. "I agree, these people are criminals. But to get the house, we have to prove that your brother is dead. So how can we do that?" "Well, we can ask scientists to testify that cryonics doesn't work. But the Futures will have other scientists who say it does. A better idea would be to have a doctor examine your brother's body and declare him dead." I laughed bitterly. "How can a doctor examine the body? It's frozen to -196 degrees Celsius. It's just a block of ice." "Yes, well, that is difficult, Ms. Shaw. I do see that." The lawyer looked at his watch again. "It's difficult, but that's what we need to do." But he looked at the papers again. "Before we begin, I have to tell you that Dan Future's lawyer is one of the best in the country. Maybe I can win, and maybe I can't. But it's going to cost you a lot of money." "How much?" I asked. $50,000 at first. Maybe a lot more later. I stood up slowly. "Forget it," I said. I only had $300 in the bank, and there was no food in the house. I looked at the lawyer's old, tired face. I can't win, can I? Because I don't have any money. The futures are stealing that house from me, and I can't do anything about it. I ran out of the office. For a week, I was consumed by rage. I shouted at people at work. I shouted at my kids. Jax got drunk, so I dumped a plate of spaghetti and eggs on his head. He hit me and went to stay with one of his other girlfriends. I wasn't sorry. He was stupid and lazy, like all men. Twice, I drove past Alex's house and saw the black car outside. That house belongs to me, I thought. Those people stole it from me, and I can do nothing. One night, I had a dream. In my dream, I saw Alex's frozen body with a key in its mouth. The key was warm, and the ice on Alex's head melted into water. Then the key moved and warmed Alex's body. Alex opened his mouth, screamed, and died. I woke up at 2 in the morning. It was very quiet. Moonlight filled the room, and there were no cars on the road outside. I began to think about my dream. The key, of course. Suddenly, I had a plan. I got up, put on a black shirt and jeans, and drove to Alex's house. The big black car was outside, but there were no lights on in the house. I parked my car 200 yards away and walked quietly to the door. The futures didn't know that I still had my key. I opened the door very quietly and slipped into the large living room. There was no sound. Everyone was asleep. My key also opened the door to the music room. It opened all the doors in the house. I went in and looked at Alex. The scene was the same. The silver body and the icy blue face in the glass case. The room was filled with that blue light and the quiet hum of electricity. Electricity, that was the key. Alex needed electricity in here for his music equipment, and of course, the freezer needed a lot of electricity. Beside the freezer was a large electrical switch. I put my hand on it and smiled. "Goodbye, Alex," I said. Then I switched the electricity off. The blue lights went out, and the quiet hum stopped. It was completely dark, but I didn't leave. I wanted to be sure. After about 20 minutes, a sound began. Noises from inside the freezer. I switched on my flashlight and looked at it. The freezer was filling with a gas like a cloud. The gas was coming from the melting ice. It made small hissing noises. I waited another 10 minutes until I was sure. There was more gas, more small noises. The freezer was getting warmer. Very quietly, I went upstairs and out the front door. I smiled. "Alex," I thought, "you are really dying now. And when you are dead, all of this is going to belong to me, and the futures can drive away in their stupid car happily." I touched the big black car with my hand, and that was my big mistake. Beep, beep, beep. The car had an alarm, and it made a deafening noise. It also flashed its lights on and off, on and off. I started running towards my car 200 yards away, but a police car came around the corner and saw me. 2 policemen got out, grabbed my arms, and pushed me into their car. "Okay, what's all this?" one of them said. "Black clothes, 3 in the morning, car alarm, I think we've got a car thief." "Yep," the other one said, touching my face with his hand. "A young woman, too." "Okay, let's take her to the station." Chapter 7. In court, I arrived at the police station at 3:15 a.m. and said nothing. The futures arrived at 3:45. "It was our car," Dan said. "Someone tried to steal it." "Yeah, okay, sir," a policeman answered. "We've got the woman here." Then I spoke up. "You stole my house, so I wanted to steal your car. It's fair, isn't it?" It wasn't true, but it bought me time. While we were all talking and arguing at the police station, Alex was getting warmer every minute. We talked angrily from 4:00 a.m. until 5:00. I loved it. Then the futures had to write their story on 3 pages of forms for the police, so it was after 6:00 when they finally went back to the house. I was happy because I knew they were too late. By now, I thought, Alex won't be frozen. He'll just be dead. Of course, they found out. At 8:00, the Futures came back to the station and there was a lot of trouble. Alex is dead, they shouted. You killed him. You switched off the freezer and killed your brother. I laughed. Of course I didn't, I said. He was dead already. I just saved you some electricity. That's why I'm here in court today. The police called me a murderer and all the newspapers wrote about me. And so, of course, now I have not one, but two really good lawyers. The lawyers are working for free because I have no money, but I am famous, and they want to be on TV. And because of my expensive lawyers, the police and the Futures look really stupid. Alex was already dead, my lawyers say, again and again. He was dying of AIDS, and then he took a dangerous sleeping drug. Either he took the drug himself, or the Futures gave it to him. And then the Futures put him in a freezer and froze his body to -196 degrees Celsius. Nobody can stay alive when they're just a block of ice. So the Futures are the murderers, not his sister, Ellen. When she switched off the freezer, he was already dead. How can anyone kill a dead man? Every day, people write about this in the newspapers and talk about it on TV. Most people think I'm right and the Futures are wrong. Last week, a newspaper offered me $100,000 for my story, but my lawyers told me to wait. This week, another newspaper offered me $200,000. This is the last week of the trial. Soon, I'm going to be free. Free and rich, too. At last. Today, my lawyers asked me questions in court, and I told my story. Then they sat down, and the police lawyer stood up. The police lawyer is a young woman with short, dark hair. She talks very quickly, in a hard, strong voice. She is clever, I know, but it doesn't matter now. She only found one doctor who thinks that cryonics is possible. We found 4 very famous doctors who don't. They say that Alex was dead before I switched the freezer off, either because of the sleeping drug or because of the cold. So how could I kill a dead man? Ms. Shaw, did you love your brother? She asks. I laugh. No, not really. Oh, why not? There is a small smile on her face. I tell the court the story of our family, how our parents gave Alex everything and me nothing, how Alex gave me nothing, only our parents' old house, how I cleaned his house for him and cooked at his parties, how I helped him when he was sick, but he gave me nothing. My lawyers look unhappy, but it doesn't matter. Nothing matters now. Next week, I'm going to be free. Your brother was very sick. He had AIDS. Did you know that? I know now, because Dan Future told me after Alex was dead. I didn't know before. I see. But you knew that your brother was sick, and you bought medicine for him, didn't you? Yes, I did. Why didn't he go to a doctor? Because I'm a nurse and his sister. He trusted me. That's right. He trusted you. His sister. The lawyer looks at me for a long moment. She is silent. I begin to feel cold and afraid. She takes a police evidence bag from under her table, opens it, and slowly takes out a syringe. She holds it up in front of my face. Look at this, Ms. Shaw. Have you seen it before? I don't know. Maybe, you say, but it has your fingerprints on it, Ms. Shaw. It came from the hospital, and we found it by your brother's bed, with 2 other syringes. You stole them from the hospital and gave them to your brother, didn't you? There is a long silence. In a very small voice, I say, all right, maybe I did. Why did you steal them? Why? To help Alex, of course. To help him play good music. He wanted clean drugs. I tell her what Alex said to me. Clean drugs, you say? Do you know what was in this syringe, Ms. Shaw? Clean, safe drugs. She shakes her head. Oh no, Ms. Shaw. These drugs weren't clean or safe. These syringes also had bacteria in them. Very dangerous bacteria. Bacteria that can kill a strong, healthy person. Bacteria that would kill a person with AIDS very quickly. And perhaps a while ago, who knows, there was another syringe. A dirty syringe, not from a hospital, but from a drug user on the streets. A syringe that gave your brother AIDS. The police lawyer puts the syringe down on the table and looks at me again. But we found these 3 syringes by your brother's bed with your fingerprints on them. Do you know why they had these dangerous bacteria in them? No, of course not. Don't you, MS? Cha. Well, that's strange. Because I know why they were there, and I think everyone in this courtroom knows why they were there, too. You hated your brother, didn't you? Because he was rich and you were poor, and he gave you nothing. And you stole drugs and syringes for him because he trusted you. He trusted you, his sister, the nurse. She looks at the people in the court, a small smile on her young face. But that was your brother's big mistake, wasn't it, MS? Cha. You wanted him to die because you wanted his money and his big house, just like the Futures. So you gave him syringes with dangerous bacteria in them, because you wanted to kill him. The court is very quiet now, and everyone is looking at me. But there is nothing I can say. Nothing. Because it is all true. You didn't kill your brother when you switched off the freezer, MS. Shaw. We all know that now. But you were trying to kill him, slowly. Week by week, month by month, you were trying to murder him. Dirty syringes, dirty drugs, dangerous bacteria. You wanted to give him a slow, terrible death. I think that this court will want to send you to prison for a very long time, Ellen Shaw. I look around the courtroom at the faces. Hundreds of eyes are looking at me, and they all hate me. All of them. No one understands me. No one loves me. No one wants to save me. No one. I feel nothing at first. Then, I begin to feel cold, like ice, like a body in a freezer.